his neck. You already know nigga Rex in effect. Keep it hot, but don't make a mess. You already know police signing they checks. Young Squeeze man toting the Rex. You wanna see your face up in the press? Pussy pop.
Squeeze reaction, man.
Squeeze.
Back, man. Yo, listen, man. I don't know what the fuck we about to watch. Let y'all know that for right now. In case y'all not jacking it.
I picked it.
This is a Rondo request.
But it's some fire shit though.
So we'll
I'm
see.
telling you.
Let us know. Leave a comment. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment. And let us know what the. It's late night. He want to put on some spooky shit.
Telling you. Right.
Some of all this bloody shit, man.
Freddy Krueger.
This is the Killer Chronicles.
Oh,
man.
Chronicles.
We got the white man voice. We got to deal with the white man voice.
Just listen, gang. I'm telling you.
November
Right.
2006. Tensions were high at USP Big Sandy.
2006.
Big Sandy. That's the jail.
2006. I was motherfucking.
That's what they call it, jail. Big Sandy.
I know what the fuck Big Sandy is.
No, I'm saying the
Isolated,
jail right
high
here.
security federal prison.
Nigga,
in
Kodak
Eastern
was in that jail, nigga.
Big
That's the jail
Sandy?
Kodak was in there. What you talking about? I know what the fuck Big Sandy is.
near the West Virginia border.
Look.
In recent weeks, there had been a number of violent incidents involving members of the Bloods, Crips, and DC Blacks, including the recent stabbing death of 42-year-old Calvin Spate, an inmate from Washington, D.C., who was killed by a man allegedly linked to the Crips, who himself got stabbed by another D.C. inmate within days of Spate's murder. Violence and high tension at USP Big Sandy was nothing new. The prison had opened just 3 years earlier and was
He giving it to him.
Wow.
He giving it to him.
on its way to earning the reputation as one of the most
Knock him
violent
right off.
places in the Bureau of Prisons system. Rife with makeshift weapons, guards that were willing to violate protocol or look the other way, and a shoe that was...
He dogging them. COs
Yeah.
ain't doing nothing.
Nah, the CEO came with the little
Yeah, they came
taser.
now, nigga. They was right there running this way, nigga.
Yeah.
He was dogging them.
constantly packed
Hold
to the
them
brim
down.
with rule violators. On November 12th, 2006, the conflict involving DC inmates was not exactly a secret throughout the prison. So it was a little odd when two
This cell
corrections
right
officers
here.
approached shoe cell D240 and asked the three occupants,
That nigga
who
right there.
included at least two
They
members of the
violent.
Bloods
Let's
gang,
watch, nigga.
if 32-year-old
You gonna
Shamani
tell us the whole
Peterson
shit. Nigga Ryder will tell us the whole shit before even. Let us watch,
was there
nigga.
without any issues. What happened next would trigger a bizarre and almost unbelievable chain of events. It would expose corruption and wrongdoing at the prison, lead to the eventual release of
What's new? They violating niggas every day in them shits,
Every
nigga.
day.
Every day.
Every day, nigga. I need to be letting niggas out all the time because they stay violating niggas and that shit.
cocaine
Yeah.
kingpin who had been otherwise condemned to die behind
This
bars,
nigga is
and
a
involved
rat.
at least 3 alleged plots to murder FBI agents,
There you go.
U.S.
Take-
attorneys, and a federal judge as he sat on the bench. Let's give you an overview of the occupants of cell D240 on November 12th, 2006. 24-year-old Daryl Beast Milburn, a Philadelphia resident who made the front page of the city's newspapers time and time again because he'd essentially attempted to bomb the city.
Yeah, he's
He left an
bugged
explosive
out.
device loaded with shrapnel outside Philadelphia.
He's bugged out.
That nigga trying to blow the whole city up.
He's bugged out.
Nah, hold on.
He's
He
bugged
hauled
out.
What?
and called authorities and
He's
claimed to have
bugged out.
planted hundreds of similar devices around town, leading to an intense 2-day cat-and-mouse game where he continually called in bomb threats as federal agents rushed around the city trying to find the devices.
Yo, bro, I'm telling you, bro, niggas be sick, bro. Something wrong with that nigga. What you doing trying to set up, what are you doing?
But
man?
he's
You
calling,
playing
he's
around
calling
with
the
these niggas?
feds like, yo, I'm about to blow this shit up right now.
Niggas be sick, bro.
Nigga, what, nigga, y'all niggas better hurry up. I'm about to blow the whole city up. Nigga, the fuck is you talking about?
That's crazy.
I was like, we gonna get you.
Psychological
little nigga.
evaluators labeled him a potential mass murderer, saying he fit the profile for a budding serial killer. He reportedly firebombed a neighborhood bar when he was just 6 years old. He stabbed a fellow ward in juvenile custody and licked the blood off his hands. He stalked a woman. He dangled a child off a cliff by the child's foot. He threw caustic chemicals on high school teachers. And he talked about...
Oh, nah, this nigga's a bug out.
Yo, bro.
What the fuck this nigga got us
Yo,
watching?
what
He
is
was
this nigga?
bugging. He
This
was
nigga's a bug
bugging.
out.
He was bugging.
How
I'm
bomb
telling you
making
some
and
fire
arson
shit.
gave him a sense of emotional release. At his sentencing, he
Ooh,
told the judge, "I'm not a monster. I have a good heart. I have my entire life ahead of me, Your Honor, and I'm not going to waste it." In prison, he was labeled a member of the Bloods, which was one of the reasons he'd been
Figures.
Figures.
with 30-year-old
Figures.
Dwayne
Nah, look, this nigga
Sound
too.
like a fucking homie.
Look, this nigga too. Watch this nigga.
Gravely in D240. Gravely was mainly known for having been in the center of what was, at the time, one of the most notorious police shootings in New Jersey. In July 2001, he was a suspect in a home invasion robbery in the town of Bridgeton when he was interrupted by police. In the chaos that followed, he fled, attempted to steal a car from a woman and her child, allegedly brandished an Uzi, and began firing at the cops. He was struck by police gunfire 9 times, hospitalized in critical condition, then put on trial in federal court.
It's a wild, strong man.
Put on trial right after.
Of course he blew.
When he recovered. At trial, he adamantly denied that he ever fired, saying, quote, "I'm not an angel, but I'm not crazy enough to point a gun at a police officer." Still, he was convicted of attempted carjacking, gun possession as a felon, crack cocaine possession, and a host of other charges, and sentenced to 36.5 years in prison.
Oh, they roofed him. I didn't even have to. I already knew they roofed him. That's all. Now they roofing him.
He was also rumored to be a high-ranking member of the Bloods, maybe the highest in USP Big Sandy, and according to federal government informants, he would repeat those claims over and over throughout the course of this saga. The third man in the cell, Daryl Crawford, was imprisoned for robbery out of South Carolina. But because he ended up becoming a witness for the government, details of his crime are hard to come by in the public court system. That brings us to Shamani Peterson, a Washington, D.C. native who was serving a 75-month sentence for gun possession after he reportedly armed himself and began threatening to shoot someone who had shot and killed his dog earlier that day. Peterson himself was shot on 2 different occasions in 2003, tested positive for PCP.
You know he gonna tell. You only in there for 6 months. I mean 6 years. Some other niggas got 30 and all this time.
But look, he's in there. He's in there. He told, right? And he's in there saying, "Oh yeah."
This nigga right here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Then they got a hospital and almost got his criminal proceedings suspended when he was found to be mentally incompetent to stand trial. But 2 other doctors put forth by the government opined that he was faking it.
So he tried to play crazy. They could beat him. They denied him. Doctors, this nigga is not crazy at all.
That other nigga's crazy. That first nigga's crazy. The nigga with the bombs is crazy.
He's about to put him in the cell with that nigga.
I know, nigga, in the other nigga.
In the other black
that's
nigga.
what I'm saying.
Days before Peterson ended up in cell D240, he was overheard making disrespectful comments about the Bloods, which makes his placement in that cell even more suspicious. At any rate, after the guards
he was
walked him
saying
in,
that before he went to the cell. Oh, they about to kill him.
The COs did the C. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up.
to sit on a toilet within the first hour. We know this because that's what he was doing when he was attacked. According to Crawford and other government witnesses, they beat Peterson severely, then stuffed a t-shirt down his throat to asphyxiate him and to prevent him from crying out. Then they took a razor blade, used it to hack Milburn's arms, and then stuck it in Peterson's shoe, with the hopes of framing the murder as a necessary act of self-defense. But Peterson's death wouldn't be discovered by authorities for almost a full day, because they cleaned his body and placed it in a bunk so he would appear to be asleep. A ruse that worked so well, guards who did a head count on November 12th failed to notice that Peterson was deceased. It wasn't until the following day that Peterson's body was discovered and an investigation was opened. And by then, Gravely and Milburn had been able to dispose of a trash bag containing evidence of the crime. When it was discovered, Milburn took all the blame for himself. Quote, "I had to kill that punk motherfucker," he told Lieutenant Anthony Ritchie, explaining Peterson came at him with a razor blade first. To see a...
Oh, them niggas is nutty.
Yo,
them
but
niggas
look,
is nutty.
But why? It's not done yet. Watch how the other nigga get.
Yeah, shit. Bug out. Them niggas a bug out, bro, nigga.
Yeah, watch. But he don't tell. Watch how the other
Jeremiah
nigga get.
Blair, Milburn said, quote, "I murdered him. I did it yesterday. Building a case against Milburn was easy after his confession. But while authorities believed Gravely was also responsible, they were getting nowhere in their investigation of him.
Remember that first
So
thing
they
they
held
showed?
off on seeking an indictment
The Woods
against
nigga?
anyone.
Wow.
Just as he did in his case from the New Jersey shootout, Gravely doubled down on claims that he was innocent, even insisting that he'd repeatedly pressed a button inside the cell, known as the duress button, which alerts guards to an emergency, but that his attempts to stop the attack were ignored. Furthermore, he said that guards had basically handed Peterson over to Milburn with the expectation that he'd be attacked, and that there was video surveillance to back up his story. As a matter of fact, there was a surveillance camera pointed right at the cell, which investigators had been ordered to preserve. One inmate, Eddie Pierre, went so far to say that the COs placed Peterson in that cell because he'd been giving them trouble, and that they wanted someone else to do their dirty work for them. He said that, during the murder, at least one guard looked into a window on the cell door and smiled. He also claimed the bag of evidence that Gravely and Milburn disposed of was removed from the cell by a guard, hours after the murder. To figure out who was telling the truth, prosecutors tried to set a date to review the footage. There was just one problem. It was nowhere to be found. Apparently, the staff at USP Big Sandy
So how the fuck they?
He got rid of that footage.
ignored the order to preserve,
Watch,
allowing a
guns
crucial
out the way.
section
Watch
of
how
the
he
video
get caught.
to be completely overridden. Years after this discovery, U.S. District Judge Gregory Van Tatenhove revealed that while the failure to preserve the footage rose to, quote, gross negligence, there was no proof that it was done out of malice as opposed to sheer incompetence, so the charges against both men remained active. Furthermore, Tatenhove took the word of Office of Inspector General Special Agent Patrick Schumacher, as well as other law enforcement officials, who claimed that they reviewed the tape before it was destroyed and that it did not show what Gravely and Pierre alleged. Still, the OIG investigation found a number of policy failures, including a failure to search inmates' trash, failure to make inmates stand during head count, which would have exposed Peterson's death much earlier.
I was about to say that, bro.
Yeah.
Fox, nigga, you supposed to stand up for that count, nigga. Stand and count. Nigga.
But they had it like
and
they had him
failure
like
to handcuff
it looked like he
inmates
was
before
laying
removing
down.
them from
Man, that's what I'm
cells.
saying. Prison, nigga, it's a standing, no laying down. The niggas might beat your ass, you in there laying down. Gangster, the police might whip your ass, you in there laying down. Think it's sweet.
A policy breach that would come around to haunt COs in USP Big Sandy's shoe in a major way the year after Peterson was killed. On December 29th, 2007, a Baltimore native named Michael Lafayette Taylor was forcibly extracted from his cell in the shoe and punched a guard during the struggle. Taylor was serving a life term for 2 murders and had been linked to a violent Baltimore gang called the Lexington Terrace Boys when he was still in his teens. The day after the cell extraction, COs Larry Ray Miller and Kevin Christopher Fallon came into the shoe to work night shift, with Miller as the CO in charge of Fallon and 3 other COs in the shoe. When he learned that Taylor had punched a guard the previous day, Miller lost his temper and headed for Taylor's cell. He began to curse and taunt Taylor from outside, then upped the ante. He brandished a pocket knife, something Miller was committing a crime by possessing inside the prison, and cleaned his fingernails with it, allowing Taylor to watch in what was clearly intended as a threat. Then he opened Taylor's cell without cuffing him first through the food port, just as guards had been dinged for doing around the time of Peterson's murder. Taylor got the better of the CO, disarmed Fallon of a knife that Fallon had also snuck into the prison, and went on a stabbing spree. He stabbed Miller in the chest and the hand, and stuck Fallon in the abdomen, back, and also the hand. 3 COs named Patrick, Price, and Meek heard the commotion and rushed to help, and Taylor turned the knife on them too. He stabbed Patrick and bit Meek. Both
nigga was getting busy.
He got busy.
What, he was an African nigga? What was that nigga? He was
Miller
busy.
and Fallon
he was from
required
Maryland.
hospitalization, and from the hospital bed, Miller repeatedly lied to authorities, claiming he didn't know how the cell got open or where the knife came from. Because the guards had blatantly broken the law, there was no way they could charge Taylor with the stabbing spree. So the U.S. Attorney's Office hit him with a battery charge for socking a guard during the cell extraction
That's
the day
all.
before.
He ain't get charged.
Meanwhile,
Pause it real
Fallon and Miller...
Nigga, he ain't get charged with none of them stabbings that all them COs that he stabbed, he ain't get charged with none of that.
Right.
He just got charged with punching the CO in his face.
CO be bombing. I wish I could. You know what?
Nigga, he stabbed 3 COs, nigga, and almost killed one, nigga, and didn't get charged with that. Just because, look, just because they broke the law, you know how they supposed to handcuff you before they bring you out. Nigga, they straight open his cell and let him out. Mind you, the CO had the knife. Yeah. Not him.
He took it from the nigga.
He took it from the CO. Like, the CO had one of them jail niggas' knives. He's about to go in there and try to kill a nigga.
That's crazy.
Nigga, he got the
CO's
best of him.
Busy in
Look,
be careful.
Look, he got the best of him. He dropped the knife, nigga. He started going to work on all them niggas. Then he bit one of them.
Nigga said, took his Mike Tyson shit.
With criminal charges themselves.
Nah, look.
And though the end result was no jail for Fallon and a short jail term for Miller, both suffered conviction.
And the CO and them niggas got locked up. And the COs got locked up. So they lost in both ways. You got stabbed and you got to go to jail and you lost your job.
For civil rights violations and lost their jobs.
Look.
So that's what the prosecutors in the Peterson murder case were left with. A case built on an extremely suspicious missing video. The word of informant Daryl Crawford, who allegedly claimed to regularly hear the voice of Sun Tzu in his head, and a shoe staff that was tainted by
I ain't gonna lie, that Sun Tzu, that Art of War book, niggas be thinking that shit, oh, we read the Art of War when I go to jail. Nigga, Sun Tzu was a rat. If you read the Art of War, you know that nigga was a rat. You do whatever to take your enemy out. You gotta snitch on them. Snitch on them, tell on them. That's what that shit said. I read that shit front to back. I said, oh, nah, this shit nutty. Niggas be beasted asking to read the Art of War. Niggas don't even really be reading it or understanding. They just want a book to read. Nah, niggas don't even understand. They don't interpret. They don't feel me. Them niggas don't be understanding what they reading. Niggas just be reading and thinking they gaining knowledge, but that shit is telling you all kind of wacky shit. I ain't gonna lie. Art of War no good. Fuck Sun Tzu too.
Of misconduct and incompetence, along with one defendant, Milburn, who was doing everything he could to take all of the blame and leave none for Gravely.
Real nigga. He a bug out, but he a real nigga.
Yeah. He told them niggas, he like, nah, I did everything. Bro, watch how the
badly needed were more witnesses to back up their theory that Milburn and Gravely had planned, carried out, and tried to cover up the murder.
That's the only way he could have been caught.
Paul A. Woods III was said to be a self-made millionaire, though not exactly by traditional means. He was the reputed top of the food chain of Tennessee's cocaine market in the 1990s. Local newspapers said that when he entered a Nashville nightclub known as the Music Mix Factory, he'd be introduced to the crowd as, quote, the Godfather, to applause, and that his coke ring brought in an estimated $69 to $84 million every single year, with the drugs being smuggled by couriers who drove them from Texas and Florida, with as much as 100 pounds at a time hidden in secret compartments. Woods remained a fugitive for months, and even allegedly considered undergoing plastic surgery to change his appearance. Wow. When he was finally caught...
You heard what he said? You heard what he said?
That's what you know, nigga getting money, man. Nigga ready to change his whole identity.
Woods offered his cooperation in exchange for a relatively lenient plea deal, but ended up lying to a grand jury about his girlfriend's involvement. Because of that, he was sentenced to life by a judge who tore into Woods at the sentencing, saying he was disgusted by the dishonesty. By 2009...
Yo, nigga gave him life because he lied, bro. Nigga, the judge said, yo, you was dishonest to me.
Take this life.
You gonna get life because you lied to me.
Take that.
And the judge is the only motherfucker I lied to. I'm not lying to nobody else.
That nigga gave him life. Now watch this.
The judge, the only motherfucker I'm lying to.
Fuck that.
I ain't lying to nobody else.
Fuck you, nigga.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Fuck you, nigga. I don't give a fuck if I lie to you. Give me whatever you want, but fuck you, nigga.
Nah, I don't get anything. That's crazy.
With a life sentence still hanging over his head, Woods was in the market for what's known as a Rule 35. Basically a free ticket out of prison that's offered to government informants and cooperators when they testify in a criminal case. So it was convenient for both Woods and the feds when he came forward with claims that Gravely confessed to him about not only ordering, but participating in Peterson's murder. Now, prosecutors had enough to take a case to a grand jury. Both Milburn and Gravely were indicted on charges of murder, conspiracy, and destruction of evidence. The story Woods told authorities was wild and detailed. He said that after Gravely was transferred to USP Manchester, where Woods was, the two became close, and Gravely eventually confessed to him. He said that once Peterson...
Yo, bro, I seen that happen. Yo, nigga, pull the fat ass. Yo, niggas do that, bro. Be in jail, niggas be with niggas and shit, bro. That's why you go to jail, bro. Especially when you like,
don't talk to
fight.
You
Yo, do not talk to people about your case, man.
Ever.
Like this nigga didn't even have. He was already in there.
He was stupid. Gucci.
He just running his mouth, bro. That's just how that shit go, bro. You gotta.
You're getting too comfortable.
Bugging.
Started reading a magazine on the toilet. Gravely gave Milburn a nod, and Milburn pounced on him, putting him in a headlock and striking him in the head while Gravely joined in. He said Peterson begged for his life, telling Milburn, "Deuce, please stop. You're hitting me too hard. Please don't kill me." But it didn't end there. Woods also claimed Gravely had devised 3 ways to get out of the charges. 1. Have Milburn take the heat for everything, for which Milburn would allegedly be paid $60,000 and given a lieutenant rank in the Bloods. 2.
Stupid ass nigga did that to be a big homie.
It was $60K.
Nigga did that. He he ain't never going home. He probably never was going home anyway, so.
He was still in there from that bomb and shit.
Yeah, but nigga, he probably would have got out eventually for that. He probably would have
been
right for that.
He was a little nigga.
Murder Andre Player, another of Gravely's fellow inmates who came forward as a government witness before Woods did. And 3, if all else failed.
Niggas is trying to get out of jail, my nigga. That's what I'm saying. You can't especially even if you sentence, gang. If you sentence, don't go out there, go in jail telling niggas about your war stories. Niggas will tell on you, man.
These niggas is trying to go home.
Niggas is trying to go home, bro. That shit is crazy, yo. That shit is crazy.
The judge, the lead FBI agent, and the prosecuting assistant U.S. attorney in open court, which Woods claimed Gravely said would at least be, quote, justice for them having the audacity to prosecute him. As to Plan 1, that appeared to have already been set into motion. Milburn quickly pleaded guilty to murder and got 17 and a half years in prison. After Woods agreed to testify, the government stuck him, Milburn, and...
Nigga, this shit said 2006. That nigga, he almost done. Shit, he almost done.
210 months?
That's 17 years.
And a half.
That's 17 years, bro. Halfway house 15. 2006, nigga, what year is this? We're 2022?
Mm-hmm.
What's that is? So 16 years, nigga. Nigga, that nigga probably out.
Probably.
That nigga probably out, nigga. Halfway house, COVID, all kind of shit going on. That nigga probably home. Bug out ass nigga, man. That nigga probably... Nigga need to watch out for that dude. I ain't gonna lie. That nigga try to bomb shit. That nigga ain't learned nothing. I don't know. He ignorant. That nigga blood. He about 40-some. That nigga ignorant. That nigga ignorant. That nigga probably home too. Oh my God. Hell nah. Stay the fuck away from Mount Vernon, because niggas will get you up out of here. That dumb shit. Stay your dumb ass where you at. Stay your ass Big Sandy, nigga. Little stupid ass.
Back to the Eastern Federal District of Kentucky, where Gravely was set to go on trial. Woods later claimed that on the flight, Milburn talked about wanting to kill Player, as Milburn had apparently failed to realize that Woods was cooperating with him.
That's the rat nigga. Of course he want to kill him.
He trying to get everybody out of here.
Yeah, my son look bugged out from he home right now probably.
He was locked up from that picture.
Yo, bro, he probably home. That nigga's probably trying to bomb some shit right now. Niggas need to watch him. That nigga away from the schools, man. Them niggas is wildin', man.
Or that Player was seated just a few feet from them on the same aircraft. When they touched down, Woods warned the FBI about the alleged plot on Player's life, and also said that Milburn had...
Nigga told again.
Twice.
That nigga said not even kill that nigga, man. They gonna kill that nigga, man. He tell him they gonna kill him.
Best to wanting to take the heat for Gravely. Thanks in no small part to Woods' testimony,
He got life.
Gravely was
He didn't even
convicted,
get months. This
sentenced
shit
to
got
life,
life.
and eventually transferred to USP Atlanta, where he remains to this day. When it was time for Gravely to be sentenced, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Patrick Malloy and Kevin Dickin had this to say, quote, "There is little, if any, redeeming value to the life of Dwayne Gravely." After the trial, Woods tried to cash in on his expectation
That's
for
what
a
they do to
Rule
him.
35 that he so coveted. But it came up short. But in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic gave Woods a sliver of hope. He petitioned for compassionate release, arguing that he was medically vulnerable. But the feds in Tennessee weren't going to lay down without a fight. They opposed the release, describing Woods as a serial liar and manipulator. And this time revealed that one of Woods' fellow
So
inmates...
this red ass nigga tried to get out on some COVID shit and they deaded him.
Deaded him. With
Stupid
You're
ass
lying.
nigga.
You're a serial liar.
Yeah.
You are lying.
You could not be trusted.
We know you lying. You told on twice, nigga. You told these niggas twice. You think we gonna believe you, nigga? Yeah, get the fuck out of here, nigga.
Claiming that Woods had offered him $100,000 to help him in a downright zany plot to solicit a stripper with a, quote, nobody type of thug as a boyfriend. While authorities in Tennessee never verified any of this, they were quick to pull it out of their back pocket to try to prevent Woods from getting out. And they failed. In 2020, U.S. District Judge Alita Trauger signed off on Woods' release, writing that Woods had, quote, no guidance growing up, remained relatively discipline-free in prison, helped significantly in the Gravely...
That rat ass nigga ain't catching a ticket. That nigga said he is disciplined. That nigga ain't catching a ticket.
At all.
That nigga ain't getting a smoking ticket, nothing. That nigga said, man, I'm still on the right track.
He told them niggas twice.
That
On two different occasions.
They probably had that nigga right up in Queens.
And recorded PSA videos to dissuade youth from joining gangs or getting involved in drugs. In August 2020, Woods walked out of prison, more than 20 years after he had been labeled the cocaine godfather of Tennessee.
Man, yo, Woods.
Fuck you.
Fucking rat. Suck a dick,
Nigga told twice.
Word, you rat motherfucker. Suck a dick.
Nah, but keep it a buck.
Gravely has appealed his time and time again for years, so far without success. Milburn, the alleged budding serial killer who even prosecutors conceded played a greater role in the violence against Peterson, is scheduled to be released in 2025.
Ooh, not that bad.
He got 3 more years.
It's probably because he had probably other time for that.
Remember, he still was in jail for the
bombs and shit.
That's what I said.
Homie about to come home. Yo, listen, man. Listen, man. Where they say that nigga from?
Big Sandy.
That nigga from Big Sandy. Where they say that nigga from again? Yo,
Kentucky.
I ain't gonna. He from Kentucky, right? That's what they said. Yo, listen.
The other nigga is from
I ain't gonna lie.
Jersey.
I'm about to go off topic right quick, but he be so high, bro. Niggas be f***ing shit, bro. I'm just saying that because nigga, that bitch that was in one of the gold digger, she 3 different gold digger.
Yeah.
I said,
did I do it?
Nah, I think me and Killer did it. And nigga, somebody in the comment was like, yo, y'all did the one with her? And yeah. I went to the shit, did it. And it was like, nigga, she got one with Nate got keys too.
Damn.
But back to the real shit. This nigga coming home soon.
3 years. In 2022, 3 years.
Yeah, niggas gotta be safe, man. That nigga's dangerous right there.
He's bombing shit.
Yeah, he don't care about nobody.
Nothing.
Big Sandy.
He wants the highest.
He wants in the cell. Yeah.
Yo, look, so
he's a big blood.
He's coming home on some shit like, yo, bro, what you jacking?
I ain't gonna lie. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. He gonna get his old ass bomb. They gonna bomb him. They gonna wherever he gonna kill him. Young niggas gonna kill him immediately wherever he go. Wherever he go. Old niggas like that come home from jail thinking they big blood and big gang member get smoked.
I killed the nigga. No.
It's about him.
I killed the nigga down, nigga.
Yeah.
Me. And I think the rat nigga. This rat ass nigga told on himself, nigga.
Holy. Like, comment, subscribe, man. We out of here, man. On that note, we out of here.